What's up, you guys, and welcome to another episode of Ask Alex, where this is a show where we take your questions and answer them here on this show. I'm your host, Alex Hampton, and today we have an amazing, fun, chill show for you guys. Not much movie news, but I actually took some fun questions this time to answer them, to kind of laugh and joke around. A lot of great weekend. I hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving weekend, a great holiday with family and friends, but I couldn't do this show without my two compadres, Mr. Ian Elliott Carter and Jeremy Branch from Movies and Terrible and the Controversy. How are you guys doing today?
Man, I saw a lot of disrespect for your elders on your Facebook page, talking smack about Roy Jones and Mike Tyson fight. And, I guess I'm all right with it. Everybody's entitled to be wrong from time to time. So,
for sure.
Good job.
Hey, yeah, speaking of that fight, I mean, I didn't really watch it, but I got the highlights. I'm not a big Jake Paul fan or any Paul fan, but props to the YouTubers whooping ass.
Head in the ring.
Let's do it.
Jake, that was Jake Paul from YouTube. When people kept saying it, I was like, who the fuck is this dude? So I looked him up and I was like, oh, I remember this dude. And when I saw the video, by the way, I did not pay for that fight. I'm not going to say how I watched the fight, but just know I didn't pay for that fight. And that was the most exciting match out of that whole match.
Oh, yeah.
Roy, by the way, Jeremy, did you pay for that?
Yeah, man. Yeah, worth it. I don't care what you say.
I said the only losers in this whole match are the people who paid for this.
I disagree. I think Snoop's color commentary was worth the price of admission alone.
I heard Snoop's commentary was hilarious.
Oh, it was hilarious. I was crying.
I was too, bro. It's so funny. The funniest thing about it, he's like, oh, it's like your two uncles fighting at the barbecue, like implying that Snoop's not 2 years younger than Roy Jones. It's like, bro, you got an uncle 2 years older than you? All right.
Hey, they're in the South. Roy Jones is from your city, right?
Yes, he is.
Yes, he is. He is from Pensacola. And that fight, I mean, I think it is what it is. But I thought that it was going to be like a showdown, but it was more so of a hugging match. And
yeah, I get it.
All I have to say is that I feel sorry for Jeremy and others who paid for that match. But that is not why we are here, guys. If this is your very first time ever watching any of our videos, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, then hit that bell right next to it. That way you get all the notifications of every time we're releasing a video here on Momentum Media. And guys, do me a huge favor, hit that like button. That way you get all our videos in the algorithm every time we're putting out content here on this channel. And if you want your topic or question on the show, just send me an email at theaskalexshow@gmail.com. That's theaskalexshow@gmail.com. If you submit your topic or question, it'll more than likely be answered on the show. Not taking any politics or anything too crazy, but I am definitely answering different questions on the show, trying to diversify the show. Now that we've gone out the way, let's go ahead and jump into the first question of the day. And the first question comes from a Keith Bears. It's either Bears or Beers. Correct me if I'm wrong, Keith, if I'm pronouncing your last name, but he writes, hey, Alex, it's being rumored that Black Widow's Florence Pugh to appear in the Hawkeye series. What do you think about this development? Well, thank you for your question, Keith. So yeah, on Wednesday, so this is coming out Thursday. On Wednesday, I actually read on Variety that it's being rumored that Florence Pugh's character from the Black Widow movie will be in the Hawkeye Disney Plus series. Now it's being rumored that she's probably going to have a larger role in this series. Some are saying that she's going to be Kate Bishop, going to be the woman version of Hawkeye, not necessarily Hawkeye's daughter, but another apprentice of Hawkeye that she trains to help liberate the Avengers. She's also a dope marksmanship with guns and archery. I haven't seen Black Widow. No one has seen Black Widow. I am interested to see it, but I'm curious to see how much involvement that movie has in regards to some of these Disney Plus series. Because I also read the reason why they pushed back Falcon and the Winter Soldier is not solely because of just COVID, but that movie has some ties to Falcon, and that movie has ties to Falcons and the Winter Soldier. So I don't know how much of that movie, connects with our overall Disney Plus series. Because correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but that movie takes place after Civil War, so before she dies. But Falcon and Winter Soldier take place after Avengers Endgame. So I don't know what connective tissue there's left, but I am interested to see it. Florence Pugh is an amazing actor. I can't wait to see her performance in Black Widow. But you guys heard these news, so Jeremy, I'm gonna pass it to you. What do you think about Florence Pugh being in the Hawkeye series as potentially Kate Bishop or any other character in that show?
Florence Pugh is one of those actors like Anya Taylor-Joy. Like, I feel like this year was Anya Taylor-Joy's big coming out celebration. She was in everything from Emma to Queen's Gambit more recently. New Mutants finally came out, but Florence Pugh, I feel like, was kind of the year before. She did man, I'm not going to be able to think of all of it right now. I know she was cast to play the replacement Black Widow. She was in Midsummer. She was in Little Women. She's very good. She's somebody that I really enjoy. And I think that we kind of suspected that she was going to take over the mantle since when she got casted, really. And then I feel like the trailer really started pushing that idea. As we know, things don't end well for Natasha, so somebody has to take up the mantle. And I don't know of anybody better. The fact that she's appearing in the Marvel Netflix series Hawkeye, I didn't realize that's news to me, but
Disney
it feels
Plus.
like, what did I just say?
Netflix.
Oh, my bad. Disney Plus, which I clearly knew.
He's old. Give him a break, guys.
Oh man, my mind is just going every day a little bit, but no, I think that we have to see Hawkeye and Black Widow paired up. I think this is a good place to do it. Plus, I don't think there's any announcements that have been made so far about a Black Widow 2. So I feel like this is a good kind of transitional proving ground for her. Okay, she can co-star in a movie. Can she help co-carry a Disney Plus series? And then if so, maybe she can get her own, Black Widow sequel or spinoff afterwards. So I think it's cool. I think Black Widow and Hawkeye go together like peas and carrots.
Yeah. And if you guys remember in the Marvel series, Black Widow and Hawkeye are like literally like brother and sister. Like they're so close. But Ian, you heard this news. You think Florence Pugh will take on a larger role in the Hawkeye series? And what do you think about her being a part of the Disney Plus stuff?
Well, I heard you mention multiple times that did you think that she's going to take the mantle of, what's it called, Kate Bishop, which I don't think that would make any sense if she's going to be in the Black Widow movie playing, looks like a sister or something like that.
Oh no, not actually be Kate Bishop, but take on the persona of like being that marksmanship in art and being a good archer. Not necessarily take on the name, but like being that like figure, not actually being her, but
Okay, now I understood. I thought you meant that. I was like, wow, they're really tapping into multiverse there. Yeah. I mean, that's a cool idea. I mean, it seems kind of confusing, but I love her. I think she's Florence Pugh is one of those actors that you're seeing right now doing great things that I could see the future of her she's going to be like one of those actors that you talk about, one of the greats. I could see that. I have a good vision of some of these people, and like Michael B. Jordan's on his way right now. I'd feel he's on his way, and I feel like she's right behind him. So whatever she's doing, I'm sure if it's good or not, it's always going to bring its A game. So Hawkeye, I mean, Hawkeye and all these Marvel shows and movies. I'm a big fan of Marvel movies. I'm a big fan of these Marvel shows. There was a time like Endgame and Infinity War, I was like, I can't wait to see this. Now I'm just like, I'll see it because I'm a fan, but I don't have a lot of enthusiasm right now because I'm ready to look and see different things. But I am always tuned in to see what Miss Pugh got going on. I think she's a very beautiful actress, and I think she's a great replacement for the beautiful Scarlett Johansson. I think that's a perfect replacement right there. And to see where they're going with Marvel, I'm very interested. But like I said, I don't got a lot of enthusiasm right now because of where they ended. It was just like, wow, I'm satisfied. Let me digest a little bit.
Yeah, I actually agree because at one point we were supposed to get like these shows like November, then obviously this pandemic happened. So I understand why we're not getting those things. So I like Ian, I am definitely a little bit underwhelmed. But I will say the only thing that's intriguing me is like what we haven't seen our characters after the end game. Like what are they doing except for Spider-Man? And no diss to Spider-Man Far From Home. I love Spider-Man Far From Home, but I want to see what our core Avenger characters are doing right now. But at the same time, like to Ian's point, I'm like, I'll watch it just to watch it, and honestly, it gives me a reason to continue to watch Disney Plus because the only reason why I renewed my my subscription is to see season 2 of Mandalorian and other stuff. But if that wasn't coming out, I would have canceled it. But what do you guys think about Florence Pugh jumping into the Hawkeye series? Do you think she'll be an amazing addition? Do you think that she will take on a persona like Kate Bishop figure? Just jump into the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. And let's go ahead and jump into the next question. The next question comes from a Matt Givens. And he writes, "Hey, Alex, so I've heard you say that nostalgic movies don't do well at the box office. Do you think Hollywood should stay away from nostalgic movies?" Well, thank you for your question, Matt. Oh, by the way, if you guys hear a tone, and I forgot to tell the guys this, I recently got my teeth cleaned, and like I had like a lot of cleaning out. So I'm like, my gums are really hurting right now. So if I sound different, that's another reason why I sound different as well.
Well, your teeth look pearly and white, man.
Thank you. But my gums hurt like hell. But thank you for your question, Matt. So when you look at nostalgic movies, although because like we're 90s/80s babies on this chat, and we grew up on these like a lot of cool things that we see now either in TV that's being repurposed for certain movies or series and stuff like that. When I look at nostalgic movies that I love but that didn't do well, I look at the Ninja Turtles. They did well, but they didn't do well enough to continue a franchise. I love the Turtles because, I feel like it was cool to see 4 brothers who were turtles get trained by a gigantic rat defeating ninjas. I mean, on paper, that's so asinine, but when you watch it, it's really cool. But to be honest with you, the reason why I feel like a lot of nostalgic movies or nostalgic shows don't do well at the box office is because they have bad writers and bad people attached to them. And let's be clear, I don't want to over minimize about making a series or a movie as it's an easy thing to do, because if it was easy, everyone would do it. I know for a filmmaker myself, it's very hard to do, especially when you're dealing with writers and budgets and editing bays. It's not an easy task. You have to do what you can do. But when I look at other properties like, Tomb Raider is a nostalgic video game, but almost every movie that's come out is not really that great with Angelina Jolie or with this new version of Tomb Raider. It's not all that great. When you look at other certain repurposings, like we talked about Tom and Jerry a week and a half ago. I want to see Tom and Jerry, but I don't want to see Tom and Jerry on the big screen. Like, I don't like I said, that trailer was cool, but there was nothing about it that was like, I want to go pay money to go see this right now. I think that Tom and Jerry should have been an HBO Max series under Warner Brothers or something of that nature. So not everything nostalgia is, I feel like, can overly do well. Now, let me just say before I pass it down, there have been some nostalgic things that have done well. I can make the argument everything about the MCU is nostalgic. You just had to read the comics. So, and that franchise is doing very well. But Ian, what do you think about nostalgic movies? Some of them, if not majority of them, not performing well in the box office. And do you think that they should be made into movies in right now in 2020?
Uh, First of all, I love this question. It's a very good question to bring us some good dialogue in the movie community. You're right. There is a lot of exceptions to the rule. I feel like the first chapter of it was a good nostalgic movie. I feel like the MCU, even Star Wars is hit or miss nowadays. MCU is doing really good. So there's a lot of nostalgia that does work. It just depends on the writing. With that being said, it does seem like there's a lack of creativity in Hollywood, of just like hitting that clone button. You're like, oh, that worked for us. Let's just not change it up. If it's not broken, let's not fix it. But that is a broken system. If you're gonna continue feeding the same crap to people, people are not gonna want to eat it. So yeah, it's sad that we have lost a little bit of creativity, but at the same time, creativity is out there all the time, whether it be like these film festival movies that don't get a lot of attention. Jeremy introduced me and my girlfriend to Shudder, and boy, we've been checking that stuff out that doesn't get a lot of attention. I do the recommendation for that reason in general too. I want to talk about stuff that not a lot of eyes get or a lot of ears get to them as well. But yeah, we just got to give some more things attention. We got to help creators out. As creators, all three of us are creators. We would love to get more eyes on our stuff. Of course, we understand what gets the clicks, the certain tags and the certain names. Of course, like an MCU or Star Wars stuff, anything that's really popular. But we have to branch our minds out and just get out of our box and try other things out. That's a personal thing. It's not going to help marketing wise, and other people are going to just do what they see. I get that, but I just want to remind people there's stuff out there. Don't think that there's not. But yeah, back to the question though, the machine of doing the same nostalgia stuff. I like to give it a shot just because I do like to see other people's take on it, because sometimes some things work, like the Halloween movie that came out a couple of years ago. Mm-hmm. I thought it was amazing. That's nostalgia. The ones before all that sucked. Sometimes it does take a little bit of time to perfect something, even though it's annoying to get to that process. So I'm willing to give everything a shot, but I would rather we come up with more original ideas.
Yeah, I agree. By the way, to Ian's point, that recent Halloween movie, I think, and I know it's not supposed to be a comedy. I don't know why, but I'm laughing a lot in that movie. I
had a lot of comedy writers on it. That's why.
Yeah, even how certain people die, I find it so funny. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. But Jeremy, what do you think about nostalgia movies being made, and some of them not performing well, and some of them are? Do you think that they should be made in 2020, or do you think we should just get a lot more original content?
Man, I echo so much of what Ian said just now. There are so many options. There are new properties, original stories being told across so many different mediums right now. There are a million original stories between the streaming apps right now that are just sitting there that none of us have discovered, because the hype beast is fed by the Disney machine, right?
Yep.
On one hand, maybe a movie like Sonic, I thought it performed pretty good. I didn't realize that it underperformed.
I liked it.
Power Rangers didn't perform well enough to warrant a sequel. But let's look at like the big ones. Let's look at, your Jurassic World 20 years after the original Jurassic Park, the Star Wars reboots, the Endgame finale, which is a really good point, Alex. I didn't think about it, but even the comic book movies from Justice League, all of that stuff can be nostalgic, but let's look and kind of examine the word nostalgic in the first place. And I understand what the question is being asked, and I think it's a very valuable and topical discussion to have. But nostalgia is a feeling that is induced by doing things the right way. Or I don't even want to say the right way, but nostalgia is when you catch that feeling that kind of brings you back to childhood. And sometimes people can succeed at that. Other times you end up with Tomb Raider, kind of like what you just said a little bit ago, Alex. Like, they don't always nail capturing that feeling, but I think if the project is able to capture that nostalgia well, 9 times out of 10, it's going to succeed. Let's see how Ghostbusters Afterlife does. And if they continue to do well, then the studios learn the lesson that if we continue to hit them with that nostalgic feeling, then we are guaranteed to, be successful at the box office because, let's just be real, 2020 shit, you know what I mean? So as a result, we want to kind of visit happier, more simple times. This is something that we've kind of discussed a little bit. Movies are great escapism, and the ultimate escapism is going back to a time and a place where you didn't have bills to pay and didn't have to go pick up the kids from practice and didn't have to, do the daily grind. So I always feel like successfully executed nostalgia is going to do well. I also feel like it's kind of easy, and it's kind of exploitive in the fact that they've learned the formula. They've learned how to bake in these ingredients that worked before and will continue to work again. So I kind of push back on the idea that nostalgic movies underperform. I think what you said, Alex, at the beginning, this idea that if it's good, it's good. If it's bad, it's bad. And it doesn't really matter whether the property is a reboot or not. Because is that what we're saying, that nostalgic movies are reboots or remakes? Because that phenomenon has been going on a lot longer than people tend to even address. I mean, I know we go to a movie like John Carpenter's The Thing being a remake of movies from the 1950s. Yeah. There was Invaders from Mars that came out as a Tobe Hooper movie around the same time. So like remaking movies goes all the way back to the 80s. It did get way more prevalent within the last 10, maybe 15 years, probably 10 years. Mm-hmm. And maybe this question shows that the cracks are starting to show, and that eventually audiences are going to demand more. But until they do, I suspect we're going to be seeing a whole lot more remakes in the theaters. We'll be seeing a whole lot more remakes for years to come. So we'll see.
Yeah, and I agree. One point I want to point out, like Jeremy said, like their remakes have been a reoccurring thing throughout time. Like people think that I think it's not Robert De Niro, but it's the original Scarface that we think like that is actually a remake of a remake. And I didn't know that until my dad told me, because he has the original VHS tape to the actual Scarface. And obviously, different times, it's very different. But you would think that like, oh wow, you would think that certain things are not as remakeable as we think. I'm willing to contend we might get a new Scarface maybe in the next 5 or 10 years or sooner. Who knows? It's like Jeremy said, remakes have been a very reoccurring thing. I will say though, there's nothing that, at least the one thing I can say with Marvel, there hasn't been a remake of an Iron Man movie. So they did a really good job setting up their franchise. But when you look at like Captain America has been remade, I think twice, mm-hmm. or once or twice. And like certain other characters have been remade. Obviously, Spider-Man has been remade. So like remakes are a thing, but at the same time, it's not necessarily about a reboot or a retelling. It's more so what are you bringing different to this? That's why I said like I love the Ninja Turtles, but you making them more real and more, I guess, authentic to humans. That's not the Turtles. The Turtles are pizza eating turtles who kick ass, not turtles who want to kill people. But then again, if you read the black and white comics, that's what they did do. So but thank you for your question. I do appreciate it. Now let's go ahead and jump into the last and final question. And the last final question comes from a returning guest, Miss Iris Peoples. By the way, Iris, you're so freaking amazing. You send these funny questions that I love to tackle on the show. But she writes, from Miss Iris, she writes, "Hey guys, do y'all see the video of a black restaurant owner telling women to stop twerking in his store? What do you think about this viral video?" So I chose this question because, oddly enough, for some reason, this is a topic of discussion. I don't know why. It is like, but I find like stuff like this is the reason why we do this show. So what Iris is referring to, and I'm going to do, if you guys haven't already, I'm going to do a video on this particular subject a little bit later. But in this video, by the way, is one of you guys' cars going off? Oh no, I'm sorry. That's
you.
My bad.
You can hear my car all the way in Orlando. That'd be dope.
About to say, like, what is going on? Okay, that's outside. But anyway, so what Iris is referring to, there's a 20-second, 30-second video floating on Instagram of a black man in his restaurant full of people during a pandemic. I know, right? Full of people. And he's yelling at these women who were twerking at his restaurant. And he basically was saying, like, you know, I made this store for my people, and I want people to hold themselves to a certain way. I got kids, families in here. If y'all want to twerk, y'all can go outside. Y'all can go to Pink's. Y'all can go to the gas station. But y'all can't do this up in here. Get the fuck out of my store, right? So he's basically saying, like, he was basically fed up to the point that these women, black women in particular, were twerking in his store. Now, let's set up some context like I set up in the last video. And I won't be too long on this, but there are other videos of that same man going to that same table multiple times saying, hey, can you please, like, not do this? Can you, like, he's going to these tables two or three times before he made that general statement. Now, like my friends here, we're all content creators. We all own our platforms.
And we're all black.
And we're all
so we can relate to this.
If that, like, for instance, if we're doing a show on Ian's show and he tells me, can you not smoke on camera? Okay. But I continue to smoke on camera. He has the right to say to me, get the fuck off camera, because I am disrespecting his show.
Sure.
That man went to those people multiple times and asked them nicely. And what he's basically coming at it from a business perspective and saying, listen, this could be a liability. If y'all get hurt, it's on me. At the same time, I got women, kids, and other stuff in here. Y'all twerking on the glass, standing on furniture, all this other stuff. Take that to somewhere else. So I want to, and Iris, I don't know what nationality you are, so I don't want to generalize this, but I said this in one of my other videos about this particular subject. I don't see this as an issue about a black man attacking black women. He's saying verbally, stop doing this. Now, I will say this, to hold him accountable, one, it's a packed restaurant. Nobody doesn't seem to be socially distanced.
Yeah.
So, bro, you need to, if I were you, I would work that out, given the fact of what's going on. And two, if you are playing a twerking song and you're setting up that atmosphere, okay, that's going to tend to happen at certain places. Now, I will say, though, which I acknowledge, I've heard twerking music in the mall. I have now, not
you
saying
just
that
break out into random twerk session.
Yeah,
Alex was tempted.
I've never seen anybody do that in the mall. I've never seen that. But at the same time, if an owner comes to you and say, hey, can you stop this? Then he comes back and say, hey, can you please stop this? At the third time, if he's pissed off about it, listen, and I said this and I'll say it again, I kind of agree with what he said. Like, hey, I've asked you multiple times, please stop. Now, Ian, you love hip hop, you love twerking, you love all these great things. Did you see the video, and did you see all these other videos of him actually telling the women to stop beforehand? And what do you think about this viral video and how people are just basically trying to essentially cancel him and say, oh, he should have never came at these women like that?
Well, I'll give two answers. One, I can definitely relate to when a certain song comes on. A demon definitely possesses my body, and whatever happens next is not my problem. It's my body doing it. You know, I can't, some of these songs that play on the radio are Negro spirituals. They either make you violent, they make you sexual. I blame the artist I don't blame myself. I'm just kidding. Yes, have control of yourself, people. Come on. I understand the wanting to do that, especially when it's a song that is your song, girl. But we got to have more self-control, especially adults. You know, regardless of your race or gender, adults, time and place. A restaurant, really? Come on, there's possibly kids around and stuff like that. Chill, bro. This story hit my radar last night when one of my favorite YouTube channels is the Comedy Hype. It's kind of like Vlad TV for
I love Comedy Hype.
Yeah. So they had like an open discussion about this. That's why it hit my radar. So I kind of got the full gist of the story because, of course, they only had little clips out there to not even know what was going on. So apparently it is a restaurant owner, and he did go multiple times like, hey, could you not twerk on my glass that's breakable? Could you not, this is a family restaurant. Could you not do that? And they're just like, screw yeah, we're going to keep shaking our asses over here like it's a strip club. So, a lot of people had a problem about him speaking to black women or his tone and voice and all that. But, nobody's politically correct when they're upset. And if
exactly.
There's always a 3-strike rule with anything, at what point, what are you supposed to do after you've told somebody 3 times to stop, regardless of that, some people were trying to make it a race thing, like, oh, this guy's disrespecting black women. Like, no, if it was like a bunch of dudes twerking on my glass, I'll tell you to get the fuck out too.
Yeah.
They're Asian. It's a respect thing. This dude worked hard for what he did. And I love the fact that he did, like, look, I made this black business for everybody, just because I worked hard, and this is supposed to be a spot for us, to support each other. And it's a hub for this. And you're making a fool out of it. I'll be damned if you'll make a fool out of me, my coworkers, and this restaurant. So you can take that somewhere else to a club where, it is acceptable, and he was probably nicer than I would have been. Like, I don't want to say I'm an angry person, but like everybody has their limits. And I could tell if I was in that situation, I would have had my limits too. Now you could blame the atmosphere of the music and stuff like that. But like you said, at the mall, I've heard, the most like songs that people would twerk to in atmospheres that don't require twerking, and people just sat their butts down and didn't twerk. They're like, oh, this is my jam, and they did this number. They didn't do all that. So my message to that is, please have self-control and don't take people criticizing you as a personal attack. Just respect people's stuff, especially if they're out there trying to help you out.
Yeah, I agree. Like, the one thing I can say, like, I'm very open person, but like I look at it as like you want to respect people's stuff. So if I go into any of my friends' house, and they say, hey, my kid's around, could you not cuss? Cool. But if I start cussing like a sailor, they have every right to not only whoop my ass, to throw me out. Like they've asked me multiple times not to cuss. It's their stuff. Like you cannot. That's why I said in that previous video, you cannot overly judge someone in terms of how they react in anger, especially if they've asked you to stop doing something multiple times. Jeremy, did you see this video?
Yeah, man.
And what did you think about it? And do you think that this restaurant owner handled it appropriately?
Dude, the white equivalent of this is you're in like a Cracker Barrel and achy breaky heart comes on.
Oh, it's going down.
Feel my heart, my achy breaky heart, and I get up in the fucking middle of the restaurant and start square dancing.
Sir, could you stop square dancing, please?
No, you're infringing on my rights as a white man. No.
Sir, I've asked you nicely. Please put the boots down and sit your ass.
I gotta dance. I gotta dance. Don't tell my heart. I don't know, man. All right, so I agree with what you guys are saying. I don't believe in the 3-strike policy. I believe in you go over there and you say, hey, this is a dining establishment. This ain't a dancing establishment. I'm gonna have to ask you guys to cut that shit out. And then I walk away, and the second they do it again, I'm going to go over to them, and I'm going to say, hey, I just asked you not to do this. Now I'm going to have to ask you to leave. And that's the conversation. The race and all of that stuff, and I've said this before. I'm going to try to concisely articulate this, but I come from a privileged position where everything doesn't have to be about race. There isn't this concept of white excellence in that same kind of idea of holding a community to a certain standard, because and just speaking totally from my own perspective, I don't know that there is a Black culture. I don't know that there is a Black way of doing things. I've got Black friends that listen to heavy metal. I've got Black friends that listen to hip hop. I know guys that are guitarists in bands that, and they don't fit into that monolithic voice of what the Black experience or perspective is supposed to be. So when I say I would just ask them to leave, I do feel like he got a little bit preachy from my perspective. Not preachy, it was almost like he shamed those women when he didn't have to do all that. He could have just said, you got to go, and not say, you know, basically you're an embarrassment to our people. And that was kind of the impression that I got without a lot of the context of, like, you are not holding yourself to the standard that I have set for the Black community. And I wonder about that. That's something that I've thought about at a couple of different times, is like, who gets to decide what's okay for any minority, right? Like, who gets to be the voice for that entire people? I guess for a long time it was Al Sharpton or like Jesse Jackson or something, like whoever the head of the NAACP is or whatnot. But like, that's something that kind of, I felt like he shamed them. And then I read his statement on Instagram, and ultimately I come down on the side of what you guys are saying. You have to play by house rules. Like, no matter whose house, no matter what house, you play by house rules. The establishment sets what's okay and what's not. And then it's just your responsibility to abide by those rules. If you're twerking on the glass, you are risking a lawsuit. You know, the owner is risking a lawsuit if that girl falls through the glass, like Ian said. So like, I get why he was frustrated. I understand all of that. Taken out of context, I can see why people would have critiques about it, because you get 50 seconds of a situation and all of a sudden you think you know shit, when we didn't. Because the more and more that came out, the more I sided with the owner. But I do kind of want to throw that back. I'm not trying to take over the show, but I do kind of want to throw that back to you guys. Like, this idea of like, is the reason why this idea that the community has to hold each other to a higher standard, do you believe that that is because they're, I'm trying to think of the best way to phrase this thing. If you took white people out of the equation, do you think that Black people have to try to hold each other to these standards? And then are those standards consistent from one person to the next? I guess, Ian, what do you think about that, man?
I mean, that's a loaded question, but I understand where you're coming from with it. See, if you love something, you should definitely go hard for it and, you know, have a lot of your critiques for it. That's why I think that's somewhat why people are passionate about Star Wars to an extent. A lot of those guys are just assholes, but a lot of you should be very if you're very loving and passionate about your people, you should be very critical of them as well. That's why I'm very confused about Trump supporters. Every time he does something stupid, they don't critique him at all. If you love this person, critique him, you know, whatever. You don't just ride his dick. But anyways, that's a whole different subject. So we're back to the Black community. Okay. So if you love the Black community, you should be able to critique them in love, and you should be able to accept it in love. You know, there is a lot of viewpoints of, like, say, not Jeremy, because he obviously he's around us, and Pensacola is pretty diverse as well. But say some random person living in the middle of Montana who's only seen Black people on television, he might have the viewpoint of, these guys are gangsters, drug dealers, you know, everything that's stereotypical. So I kind of get where he was coming from. Is this like, yo, you know, don't give these people the satisfaction of these stereotypes that the world has given us. You know, we got to do better. I get that point.
So is twerking Black culture, or is twerking ghettoization of Black culture, or is there a fear that everything ghetto is not Black culture, or that it doesn't represent the Black community well, when it absolutely has to be at least one facet of Black culture, right? Like,
Well, it is. I would say twerking. The visual of it is a black thing, and I feel like they do it very well. Shout out to all the white people that are starting to do it well as well. I have been paying attention. But yeah, no, I think that's like and like you just said, twerking, drug dealing, all this gangster stuff. It's a universal thing that I've definitely seen white people doing as well.
Yeah.
But I think the lens is definitely, music video black people doing it and doing it very well. So 9 times out of 10, if you say something about twerking in a restaurant, people might just assume they're black. And black people like me and Alex be like, I hope they weren't black,
Yeah. Okay. That's insight. That has value to me. Alex, I know you were biting your tongue about that. What do you got?
I mean, and if I'm being honest, guys, black people did start the element of twerking. It started in Atlanta. It started in the deep South, like not necessarily Atlanta, but like
no, it started in Africa, bro.
Or in Africa. It probably started in Wakanda for all we know. Started like, so it's a thing. But to your point of setting a standard right now in our society, and this is not to get too political, but black people are always made to seem doing the most ignorant things, even though we live in a society like what Ian just said. I don't understand how Trump supporters support Donald Trump, but they don't critique the man.
Yeah.
They do the dumbest shit. There's some who support him that didn't vote for him. That's the whole point of support. But not to get too political, but with certain black people, like twerking and dancing and all the other stuff is part of the culture. However, it's part of the culture of an arena where it's acceptable to do, like in a club setting.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't feel like in a club setting, no one's gonna be Malcolm X in a club setting. That's just being honest. Like as a DJ myself, before pandemic, when I would DJ at certain parties and events, that's what black women would do, is twerk there, and nobody's going to chastise them for it. But if I'm going to church and
I feel you. Yeah.
And that happens because they hear, back that ass up. Why is that playing at church? I don't know. And you see the deacons and some of the choir start backing their ass up. I'm like, hold up, like what is going on? Like we were just worshiping and y'all are now shaking your ass. Like
Jesus is coming soon if they're twerking in the churches, brother. That's all I got to say.
But as far as to that point of we try to hold ourselves to a standard of, we don't want to be viewed a certain way. And from us, like what Ian really alluded to, like when you go to like a white business like Walmart, you don't see white people twerking or acting crazy because
we go to different Walmarts. I see white people acting crazy all the time, and I guess again because, and this is kind of to my point again, because I'm white, maybe, is if somebody acts out in a Walmart, in a restaurant, I don't say like, white people, you got to do better. I say, look at you're an asshole. You know what I mean?
You guys already have like, you could act a fool right now. You could start saying the N-word, go naked, start jerking off, do all this stupid Florida man stuff. It does not have a stain on the white community, whatever the fuck you do right now.
So that's 100% right. I guess that's just the systemic nature of the whole thing.
That's really what it is, honestly. Like, if me and Alex did something like that publicly, we kind of just push black people's narrative back, especially people that are not around black people. They'd already have this narrative of us.
Yeah.
So you could do whatever hit every stupid white stereotype you want. It's not going to stay in the white community at all. They're already still in power. It's
like that. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, it's real quick. It's like that reference in The Boys where that guy said, acting crazy. I'm just paraphrasing. Acting crazy and blowing up shit is a white man's luxury. If I do that, if I do that, I'm a terrorist. If a white person does that, they're labeled as, oh, he didn't mean
mentally ill or something.
Mentally ill.
I mean, to be fair, not all blew up the World Trade Center, and Charlie Manson, the fucking serial killer. So, like, I hear what you guys are saying, and I think you're right. I think that's the utopia that I want to live in, where the actions of one don't reflect on an entire group of people.
Right.
Like where I can
That's what we all want.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And I guess that's, again, coming from that place of privilege and not having that perspective of like, if another white person does something, I don't feel that it's
Not a reflection on white culture.
It's not a reflection on me
Yeah.
in particular. So I'm like, fucking whatever. But I hear 100% where you're coming from. I think that's good insight and context that is easy to overlook from a position of just not having that cultural experience. Where yes, you're very right. Where if a white person shoots somebody in the street, then the headline is gunman shoots people in the street.
Absolutely.
If a black man shoots somebody in the street, the headline is black man shoots somebody in the street. So it's that kind of, I 100% understand that.
And that's sad too, that every time like a crazy article pops up like that, I'm literally crossing my fingers hoping it's not a black person. Not that I'm hoping it's white. I don't hope anything like that happens to anybody. I hope, you know, we could level that up one day where we are just men or women and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I do cross my fingers like, please don't be black. Please don't be black. Just because of that fear. Like, okay, well now every time I go to a Walmart, you know, let's just put the scenario, a guy shot somebody in Walmart that was black. Now everybody in Walmart's going to look at me now because they got a fear of a black guy shooting up Walmart. So that's why sometimes I cross my fingers. Please don't be black. Please don't be black. You know, because of that fear of maybe one day my son is going to fit some type of stereotype over some dumbass that did something stupid. And now that viewpoint of society is these are violent criminals.
Yeah. And that's why I think in a lot of ways, if you look at what that guy was talking about, going back to that initial viral video, in a lot of ways, I think he was trying to hold people accountable, not necessarily shame them. But I will agree with Jeremy. If you are not watching, if you're only watching that video out of context, at first, I believe, because I saw celebrities share it, I thought he was being disrespectful to certain people in the way he was talking, because you should never talk to customers that way. But when I saw those initial videos, and to what Ian said, because I love comedy hype, when I saw what they posted and they show everything, like from the guy's statement to the videos and even providing their perspectives, I was like, oh yeah, these motherfuckers deserve to get yelled at. But that's my thought. Iris, I didn't mean to stay too long on that.
Great question.
But I hope that answers that question for you. And if you are a woman of color or not, I hope this did not offend you. So I do apologize in advance. So thank you, guys. Thank you for your amazing question. Please keep sending questions. And that will be our show today. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, subscribe to my YouTube channel where you get all the updates every time I'm releasing a video here on my channel. Before I pass it down to my guys, on Friday, I have a Real Debates highlights video. Nice. Where you can see all of our favorite moments from the season 1. So you definitely want to check that out. It's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of comedic stuff I added into that as well. So it's going to be funny. So Ian, where can we find you on social media?
You can find me at _controversy at Instagram and Twitter, or you can find me at youtube.com/thecontroversy, where I do live streams every Wednesday night at 8:30, 7:30 Central. And we talk a lot about the training stuff that we have been doing today as well. So yeah, let's keep those conversations going. Check me out. I'm dope.
Awesome. Yes, he's very dope. Very dope. And I have another dope person, Mr. Jeremy. Where can we find you on YouTube and social media?
Look for me at the Pink shaking my ass every single weekend. Check out Movies Are Terrible on YouTube, you guys. Thank you for the conversation. It's always a pleasure. I enjoy the conversation. I enjoy the camaraderie, and I enjoy awesome questions from people like Peoples. What's Peoples?
Iris?
Yes, Iris Peoples, dude. Yes, always coming with great questions. So thanks for having me.
For sure.
Awesome. And you know where to find us, guys, here at Momentum Media. We put out great content almost every week. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. And as always, you have a blessed day.